Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What is going on? What is going on? Welcome back to the Big B Daily Show, man. This is your boy, Big B, Brien Hanley. What is happening? It is Thursday, a good Thursday. Lot going on. My goodness, a lot going on. We're going to cover it all today. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube, man. I appreciate everybody being in here. Let's get to it. TikTok, as always, man, keep tapping the screen. 3,500 likes, at least 30 new follows. YouTube, if you're not on here and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Let's get it going. Fraud of the week. Fraud of the week. The one thing that we don't do, that we haven't done, is we didn't do this Tuesday. There was stuff all over the place, but we always do a fraud of the week. So, who are we thinking? It's always fan participation when we do fraud of the week. So it's always us, kind of a collaborative effort. I don't think it can be anybody but the Eagles. Do you? I think it's got to be the Eagles. And I mean, some people are saying the Dolphins or the Jags. Now, maybe it's the Jags because the Jags just had to beat Tennessee and they win the division. So it could be the Jags, especially what a lot of people thought the Jags were going to be. A lot of people thought the Jags were going to be this crazy team. So the Warriors? I don't know about the Warriors. But I think it's got to be the Eagles. The Eagles were supposed to be so good. So good. And the next thing you know, they have hit the skids. They can't get out of it. So it's not the Lakers. Come on, man. Let's be serious. I think it's got to be the Eagles. You're right. That's exactly right, Chuck. They fold. The Eagles have folded. The Eagles have folded. It's unbelievable, but it kind of is what it is at this point. It is what it is. I can't, I mean, it was fool's gold. TikTok, YouTube, it was fool's gold at the beginning of the year. Remember when the Eagles were winning all those close games? Remember that? Yeah. I remember when they were winning all these close games, and then the next thing you know, they lost a couple of games, and they just haven't been able to get the train back on the tracks. What I believe is the Eagles just weren't as good as what we all anticipated. And they were winning these close games, but they really weren't against great teams, and they won them. And then, yeah, Chuck says the 49ers broke them. They might have. But, yeah, they were winning, and then the next thing you know, they can't figure it out. Their defense is terrible. Just terrible. Jalen Hurts is hurt, has no emotion. I mean, you say he's a leader, and that's fine, but you don't know whether he's excited or he's not excited. Offensive line beat up. Wide receiving core beat up. Eagles are going to lose to Tampa Bay. Eagles are one and done in the playoffs. Eagles are the fraud of the week. The Philadelphia Eagles are the fraud of the week. Just bad football. Had an opportunity to possibly win the division. Now, they weren't going to because Dallas blew out Washington, but they didn't know that. They were playing at the same time, and they were getting their head beaten in the entire first half by the Giants. Whew. But it is what it is. It is what it is. They weren't any good. They got smacked around. Eagles are the fraud of the week. Eagles are the fraud of the week. Somebody said the Eagles are going to beat the Bucks by 20 plus. You are out of your mind. The Eagles may not even get to 20. What are you talking about? Jamin, the Eagles just mollywopped them. Or the Giants just mollywopped the Eagles. Come on, people. Come on, TikTok. Y'all know better than that. YouTube, y'all know better than that. The Eagles are the fraud of the week. It's just that simple. And they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. They're going to be one and done in the playoffs. I know it. You know it. Philly fans knows it. They know. He said the Sheagles fraud of the week. Now don't go getting disrespectful. So, not yet. Not yet. What record? Well, who cares about the record? How about the record the last month? Let's talk about the Eagles' record the last month. Let's do that. Let's do that. How good was that record the last month of the season? Yeah, but they're 1-6. Look at that. Eagles, I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. If they do, I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to hate it. I just don't think I think they're finished. I think they're a broken football team. They're a battered football team. And I don't know that they can come out of this. I don't think they can come out of it. But they're the fraud of the week. Let's move on. So, Bill Belichick retires. Bill Belichick retires. I mean, I knew it was coming. I think we all knew it was coming. And with these NFL jobs, I mean, it's usually Black Monday. Well, it's kind of been spilling out. It's like been a black week. Like coaches got fired on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, now Wednesday. So it's just kind of just spilling out slowly but surely. And we'll see what else happens. But Bill Belichick, he's out in New England. Let me ask you all a question, and we'll get into greatest coach of all time, because I think he is. Some people, well, he cheated. And I'm like, hey, man, they were all cheating. He just got caught. They were all trying to do the same thing. But I think he's still the greatest coach of all time. NFL coach. Having to deal with the salary cap, 6 Super Bowls. It is what it is. But a question, do y'all think that Tom Brady carried him? Because I think 2 things can be true. I think he can be the greatest head coach of all time, and I think he could be carried by Tom Brady. I think 2 things can be true. So, and it doesn't matter what he is minus Brady. Brady played under him. And here's what we will say too. Is Brady the great? I mean, everybody says that he's not the greatest coach without Tom Brady. Well, is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback without him? The answer is no. And just because he won 1 Super Bowl in Tampa, that don't mean he was the greatest coach. Y'all know that he wasn't the driving force on why they won that Super Bowl. That defense was lights out in Tampa. So 2 things can be true. You know what I'm saying? I think Tom Brady carried Bill Belichick. But I think Bill Belichick is still the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. And if you go back and do a deep dive, and I did this earlier today, what great coach doesn't have a great quarterback? Name the coach that's considered the greatest coach of all time and is in that conversation that didn't have a great quarterback. You can't come up with one. Tom Landry had Roger Staubach. Chuck Noll had Terry Bradshaw. And I'm a Steelers fan, and I don't know that you would say that Terry Bradshaw was great. The one coach is Joe Gibbs. Yes. Jim Eaton brought it up on TikTok. Joe Gibbs. That was the one person, and he didn't let me get there, but I appreciate it, Joe. I appreciate it. That was the one coach, because he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, and none of them were great. I mean, Joe Theismann, Jay Schrader, Mark Rippon. None of them were great. But let me ask you this question. Is Joe Gibbs the greatest coach of all time? I mean, how often does his name get brought up? I mean, does it? Should it? Maybe that's a better question. Should Joe Gibbs' name be brought up? Yeah, maybe it should. So, but other than that, all the coaches had great quarterbacks. All of them. You know, somebody is going to bring up the Raiders and Tom Flores. And he had Jim Plunkett, who Jim Plunkett wasn't anything special. And he wasn't. Hell, the 2 years that they won the Super Bowl, Jim Plunkett wasn't even the starting quarterback to start the season, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. But yeah, Joe Gibbs is never brought up. So John Gruden is not in the conversation for greatest coach of all time. I can't believe somebody would say that. So Brady didn't win all those Super Bowls. Bledsoe would have won the first one, but Bledsoe didn't win the first one. He got them to the Super Bowl. No, Bledsoe didn't get the Patriots to the Super Bowl. He played a half of football. Stop. Come on, man. And how do you even know that they would have been in that position? How do we know that Bledsoe would have even gotten them in that same position? We got to stop this. It is what it is. I'm a Steelers fan. Okay, I am too. So I get what y'all are saying, though. But bottom line is Brady won 6 Super Bowls. And I think he carried Belichick, but I think Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. 2 things can be true. 2 things can be true. How much do you all hold all the cheating and stuff against them? Do you guys hold a lot of that against them? I don't know if I do. Because everybody was doing it. They got caught. Somebody reported, what was it, Eric Mangini from the Jets reported him, told him to stop doing it, or I'm going to report you. And Belichick said, screw you. I'm going to do it anyway. And then he reported him. Because Mangini was on his staff and knew what he was doing. That's crazy. So, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of you guys, and I'm just looking for answers, TikTok and YouTube, do y'all hold a lot of Belichick stuff against them? The cheating scandals, Deflategate, Spygate. Do we hold that? Somebody says, yeah, if you have proof. Yeah. I just, cheating is cheating. But when everybody's doing it and then one person gets caught and they make an example out of you, I don't know. My man Quiggle, thanks for coming to the live, Quiggle. He said Don Shula is one of my greatest coaches. Yeah, of course he's in that conversation. He has to be. He has the record for all-time wins. Got to be in the conversation. Here's somebody, and I know I'm biased and I'm a Steelers fan. I don't think Chuck Noll gets enough credit for being a great coach. I know they had a ton of Hall of Famers, but he helped put the team together. I just don't think Chuck Noll gets enough credit for being a great coach. I don't. I love Chuck Noll. I think he was an outstanding coach. And let's just be honest. Terry Bradshaw is on the list. If he didn't have 4 Super Bowls, Terry Bradshaw is on the list of being one of those guys who's, what the hell is he doing in the Hall of Fame? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Terry Bradshaw was not a great quarterback. He was clutch. He was clutch in the Super Bowl. Absolutely, he was clutch. You go back and you look at Terry Bradshaw's numbers, they were mid at best. Average at best. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Bill Belichick out. Do we think that Bill Belichick coaches anywhere else? What is he, 72 years old? 71 years old? Does he go somewhere else and coach? I mean, I don't know. Does he go? I mean, I've heard Atlanta, Washington. He would never go to Carolina because he ain't going to deal with that owner. But what do we think that he goes? The Bears have a coach. Apparently the Bears are just fine with their coach. Seattle, I don't think he's a West Coast guy. I don't think Belichick is a West Coast guy. I don't think he'd go all the way out west. I'm not saying it's a bad job. I'm just saying I don't think that he would go all the way out there. Or to the Raiders. And the Raiders need to just hire Antonio Pierce and move on. Hell, I was seeing where Antonio Pierce was going to get interviewed by Tennessee. My question about that is, you got a former player as a head coach. You get rid of that guy who's a defensive-minded coach to interview Antonio Pierce, who's a former player, defensive head coach. You already had that, and you didn't want that anymore. So why are you, what is this, a Rooney Rule thing? I mean, why would you ask permission to interview Antonio Pierce? That makes no sense. You had Vrabel. Oh, well. I know I've heard rumors that Vrabel wants to go to New England. If I was him, I wouldn't go. I think Vrabel's a really good coach. I think Vrabel is a win now type of guy. And I think Atlanta would be the perfect spot for him. All they need is a quarterback. They've got other pieces. Their defense was pretty good. They got a good O-line. Build up that pass rush. I think Atlanta would be a great spot for Mike Vrabel. Great spot. Now, Washington, here's the thing we got to do, and I said this yesterday. We got to stop looking at Washington as that downtrodden organization that they've been for 25 years. They got new ownership. Remember, it's not Daniel Snyder anymore just running the franchise into the ground. It's not him anymore. They got other people. They got new ownership. So to me, I think that Washington can be good in the next 2 to 3 years. But who's going to take that job? Will they be patient? I think if new ownership understands, hey, our roster it's not horrible, but it needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of work. And a head coach coming in there, they're going to have to be patient with. Is Bill Belichick wanting to go to a situation where, you know what, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before we're good? Again, 70, what? I think he's 72. You're going to be 75 before you're good? I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'm not trying to bash anybody's age or anything like that. I'm not that dude. I'm just saying, if you're only going to have a coach and you know he's only going to coach 2 or 3 years, do you want to bring that into your organization? I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. I don't know that you want to bring somebody in that you know is only going to coach 2 or 3 years. I mean, Belichick's not going to coach till he's 80, is he? I don't think he's going to stick around till he's 80 years old. And do you even want him to? You know? College football coaches and NFL coaches, it's starting to turn over. You know? It's starting to turn over. The older guys are getting out, and the younger guys are coming up. And that's just the way that it is. You know? Everybody's saying, well, they're getting out. They don't like this. They're being driven out. And we'll get to that in a second. But you're just getting older. I mean, facts are just facts. Like Pete Carroll, 72 years old. Now, I know he doesn't look it and he runs around and, you know, he's got a ton of energy. But he's still 72 years old. Are you wanting to bring in a 72-year-old Pete Carroll? I don't know. Bill's not an East Coast guy or a West Coast guy. I don't think he's going to Seattle. That wouldn't make any sense. That wouldn't make any sense. And yeah, all these coaches are millionaires. You're millionaires at 72. Maybe retirement's not so bad. Maybe retirement's not so bad. Let's move on, people. Let's move on. Big announcement came out yesterday during the Big B Daily Show. Nick Saban retired. Nick Saban. Man. Now, you knew it was coming eventually. You just didn't know. He didn't take the big victory lap, which I can appreciate. I can appreciate him not taking a big victory lap. But man, It just seemed like it came out of nowhere. Now, apparently there were some rumblings that this was going to happen. But Nick Saban, greatest college football coach of all time. I mean, I don't know what the debate is. But I'll ask the question, who's better? In your all's eyes, on YouTube and on TikTok, if Nick Saban isn't the greatest, who is? Be prepared for me to battle back with you, though. Be prepared for me to battle back. Chip Kelly. Okay, so we're not being serious. Bear Bryant. Maybe. The one thing I'll say about Bear Bryant, and there's going to be people in there that are going to, oh, you're making it about race, blah, 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 blah. And nobody's making it about race. But Bear Bryant won a lot of his titles when everybody wasn't allowed to play, if that makes sense. Everybody wasn't being included in college football. And Bear Bryant won several titles when everything wasn't equal, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. I'm not saying he had an advantage over other places that did the same thing. I'm just saying, as far as college football, it just wasn't equal at the time. That's all. I mean, you can't argue that. It's not, oh, you're making it about race. Why are you bringing up race? I mean, it's just the truth. You know, facts are facts. Bobby Bowden. Yeah, I like Bobby Bowden, but not enough titles. Not enough titles to put Bobby Bowden on the same. Bobby Bowden won a lot of football games. Changed Florida State into basically being known as an all-girls school into a football powerhouse. Kirby Smart's not on that level. I will never say Joe Paterno. I will never say Joe Paterno. I know Joe Paterno did a lot of great things in his life, a lot of great things for Penn State University, for guys that played for him. But if all the reports are true, Joe Paterno allegedly allowed a pedophile to run around on his campus for 30 years. So I'm not trying to hear Joe Paterno in any shape, fashion, form, nothing. I don't want to hear it. So Tom Landry didn't coach college football or John Madden, so that's what we're talking about. College football. Let's see. My man Quiggle. Are you saying Bear Bryant had a lot of marshmallow guys? Now, I don't want to go and do anything like that, my man. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is everything wasn't equal. Everything just wasn't equal. Didn't play all the best competition. Lou Holtz, not enough titles to be in the conversation, but Lou Holtz is a great coach. Bobby Bowden, Austin, that's a good way to get blocked. So we're going to go ahead and do that for you because we don't do the pedophile thing in here. I don't know who the hell you think you are, but we ain't doing that in here. And that ain't funny. So if anybody wants to throw out Jerry Sandusky and be funny, be prepared to be blocked. We're not doing that nonsense. Tom Osborne. I had the pleasure of getting my head beaten in by a Tom Osborne team, his last team. Great coach, and is in that conversation. Here's another one, Barry Switzer. I know that might be before a lot of people's time, and a lot of people only remember Barry Switzer from the Cowboys. But as far as college coaches, Barry Switzer was outstanding at Oklahoma. Outstanding. So, Urban Meyer or Jimmy Johnson, they can be in the conversation. Not at the top level, though. Not at the top level. Lou Holtz, same thing. Not at the top level. Not enough titles for Lou Holtz. I mean, we're dealing with guys that got multiple national championships. And Lou Holtz doesn't have that. You know, there's plenty of guys that have multiple national titles. And, you know, that's where Nick Saban is. Bear Bryant. You know, you can even say Urban Meyer. Bobby Bowden. I mean, there's the list goes on and on. So, but we'll see. We will see. That's who I think is the great. Now, here's another part of it. Why did Nick Saban leave? Or Nick Saban, I'm sorry. Why did Nick Saban leave? I made a post about it. Go check it out on YouTube and on TikTok. Why did he leave? I mean, everybody's saying that, well, his wife was sick. I'm not even going to touch that. That's not our business. I don't even want to speculate on anything about that. A lot of people are saying he didn't want to deal with the changing times. I think there's a lot of truth to that. So I think there's a ton of truth. So as far as didn't like NIL, didn't like the transfer portal. I can get down with that. I agree. But let's dig deeper. Let's dig deeper, people. He's 60 or 72 years old. I mentioned this earlier. He's 72 years old. He's arguably known as the greatest football coach of all time. He's won 6 national titles. He has nothing to prove. He's filthy rich. Isn't it okay to just say, I'm done? Isn't that okay? I mean, why? I know that we look for the controversy and we sensationalize everything these days. But how many people, if at 72, are not retired? I mean, how many people do you know that are 72 years old that are not retired? I'm not saying there's not people that aren't. I'm just saying at 72 years old, if you personally, you on TikTok, you on YouTube, if you personally had more money than you could spend, were universally known that you were one of the greatest at your profession, you're 72, would you still be working? At 48 that I am, if those things were true about me right now, I would not be working. So much less being at 72. I think people got to start thinking about that. He's 72 years old. It's okay to just be, I'm done. Also, another thing, Alabama hadn't slipped. Alabama had not slipped. You know, it'd be one thing if Alabama had won 7 or 8 games this year, lost 2 or 3 games to teams that were terrible or average. No. You could say this is one of his better coaching jobs because they didn't have like this crazy quarterback that was outstanding. They didn't have that. They didn't have just some crazy running back out there that nobody could stop or crazy offense or defensive line. They didn't have that. They didn't have any of that. And they were a play away from the national championship game. Beat Georgia, who is a team that a lot of people didn't think could be beat. Won the SEC championship. So that's all I'm saying, man. Nick Saban has earned the right to do whatever he wants. I don't think we should be looking to try to sensationalize the man's retirement. He's 72 years old. Ride off into the sunset, man. Ride off into the sunset. And we need to be happy with that. Stop looking, well, so I'm not even going to bring it up because I think it's stupid. Just, he wanted to quit. He didn't like the way college football was going. He doesn't want to deal with that. He left. He didn't have a stranglehold on recruitment anymore. I believe that. I believe that. So, and he decided I can leave on top. We're not the national championship, but I can leave on top. Good for him. Good for him. So, well, let's get into it, people. Let's get into the Q&A section of all of the Big B Daily Show. Again, Monday through Friday. Be looking for us to change times next week and come on in the morning. Be looking for that to happen. I don't know exactly when, and it may not be next week, but just be prepared because we are going to be moving times from our 4 p.m. Central Time slot and definitely going to the morning. I just don't know when. So I want to get that in your all's mind. Get it in your head now. Get it in your head now. So what do we got? Let's bring on the questions. Bring on the questions. So here's a good one from Feed Me More Seahawks. What do you think is the most attractive job? Chargers, Raiders, Seattle, Atlanta, Titans, Patriots. For me, I think it's the Chargers. I think the Chargers is the most attractive job. Chargers, and then Atlanta, and then Seattle. That in that order. Chargers, Atlanta, Seattle, Raiders, Titans, Patriots. And I got Patriots last because, first of all, their roster is bad. Bill let that roster get bad. Second, how long do you think the fans of New England are going to be patient with that coach? Kind of like the next coach at Alabama. In Alabama, if the spring game doesn't look like what they think it should look like, they're going to want that guy fired. The Patriots fans are going to give this guy 1 year. If they stink, they're going to forget that the Patriots has stunk for the last 3 years. They're not even going to take that into consideration. They're going to want a new coach. It's tough. It's tough following a legend, man. You don't want to necessarily be that guy. You want to be the guy that follows the guy that followed the legend. That's who you want to be. So it's going to be tough with New England. And you left off the Panthers job, but I'm considering we don't even consider that Panthers job a real job because that owner is a nut job. But yeah, I think the Chargers is the most attractive job. Chargers, Atlanta, then Seahawks. Chargers, Atlanta, then Seahawks. My man Mario over here on YouTube said Jags choked bad after starting the season 8-3. Yeah, they did. The Jags choked real bad. But you know who the Jags didn't choke more than? The Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles choked worse than the Jags did. People were saying the Eagles were the best team in the league. Whew. Few games later, people are saying the Eagles won't even win a playoff game. And that's what I'm saying. So he said Brian Johnson will get Carolina. Didn't they request to speak to him about the head coaching job? If that's not the Rooney Rule in effect, which I think the Rooney Rule is garbage. I think the Rooney Rule is just dumb because people now use it against these coaches just to bring you in. It's crazy. And look, you all know me. I've been out here long enough. You know that I'm not a everything is got to be black. If you're a black guy and you do something stupid, I'm going to say it's stupid. Do I want there to be more black head coaches? Sure. But you got to be qualified. Not saying that black coaches aren't, because they are. But I just think the Rooney Rule, I think it does more harm than good. I think it does more harm than good. Let's get back to football. Let's get off politics. I don't do politics. Let's get back to football. All right. Austin said, I would say the Seahawks are QB away from being the most attractive job. Well, Atlanta could say the same thing. First of all, if Atlanta had a quarterback, they wouldn't be looking for a new head coach. That would be number one. If Atlanta had a quarterback, they wouldn't be looking for a new head coach. And their defense is better than Seattle's. So that's my first thoughts. That would be my first thought. You're not wrong. I just think Atlanta is in a better position. That's all. And their division's not near as good as what the NFC West is. I mean, that's a gauntlet. That's a gauntlet. So, what are my thoughts on about Cleveland Browns surviving the wild card playoff? I think the Browns win the game. I think the Browns beat the Texans. I don't know about you guys, but I think the Browns win that game. I just do. They got the best defense in the league. Flacco is got some Flacco magic going on. This is going to be Stroud's first playoff game ever as a rookie. He's bound to make some rookie mistakes. I like the Browns in this game all day long. I like the Browns in this game all day long. So, yeah, now you're right. Feed Me More Seahawks saying the one problem with the Chargers is ownership. Yeah, they got bad ownership. But there's a lot of bad owners out there. Can y'all believe how bad the ownership is? The ownership is just bad. Everywhere, it seems like. It's all over the place. Just bad ownership. The Chargers, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Raiders to an extent. Just bad, bad, bad. The Giants, the Bears. Ownership. Got to get better, man. Got to get better. Steelers over the Bills. I like it. I'm not confident, but I like it. Big B, who in that picture over my shoulder? That's my brother. That is my brother. God rest his soul. He was an all-state high school football player. He's always going to be with me. I do this. I'm not that guy that says I'm doing this for him. He was better at this than me. He died 10 years ago, and we probably would have been doing this together, but he was better at this than me. My brother Robert was better at this than me. Yeah, he just was. We'd have been doing this together. And he was the funniest person on planet Earth when he was here. So it would have been incredible. Incredible. So I appreciate you asking me that question, though. I do. A few people have asked, and I could have a show talking about my brother. I could have an entire show all day talking about my brother and what he did and what he means to me. So I ain't going to do that because my brother was my best friend. I've been married 20 years. My brother was my best friend, and I'm not trying to get too emotional or anything like that, but if I thought about it and just sat here long enough, I'd start crying. So I'm not going to do that. I'll talk about him and how funny he is and how crazy he is, how we used to make fun of my mom all the time at Christmas. So, but it is what it is. Let's get back to some football, man. But thank you for that question. I appreciate it. What's your opinion on the Saints fake victory formation? Winston, fraud of the week. You know what? He was in consideration for it. Yeah, buddy. I mean, that's Bush League. I don't begrudge him going for the touchdown. If that's what they wanted to do, then just line up and do it. But don't trick somebody and get into a victory formation and then all of a sudden get a touchdown at the that's just Bush League. Now, I think that Shannon Sharp went too far saying he should be cut for that reason. I think you should cut Jameis Winston because he ain't no good. That would be my thing. Hell, the Saints wheeled Derek Carr out in a wheelchair to play a game and threw him out there before they trusted Jameis Winston. That should tell you how good they think he is. So, and I heard that it was important for Williams to get a touchdown, maybe something for his contract. I don't know. But it's hard for me to believe that that's the truth. You score one touchdown on the year and you get some money for that? I'm doubting that's the case. Especially you signed as a free agent and he scored 17 touchdowns the year before? Come on now. I mean, he was a non-factor all year. I get it, but I thought it was Bush League. Not running up the score part, how they did it. Just Bush League. Yeah, it was his first touchdown of the season. They ain't getting no money for that. Or he's got the world's greatest agent. So here's a question on TikTok. How many years does Myles Garrett have inducted Pro Football Hall of Fame? I don't know what the question of this, man. But if Myles Garrett quits today, I think he's on the fringe. I don't know. Myles Garrett's very good. No defensive player of the year. I'm not saying you got to win that, but you'd have to. I mean, Myles Garrett needs to get to 100 sacks. Myles Garrett got to get to 100 sacks to get in the Hall of Fame. What do you guys think? I think he's got to get to 100 sacks. You know, there's too many guys that are doing too much stuff these days. If you don't get to 100 sacks, it's like, unless you get hurt and your career gets cut short and you can play like 8-9 years or something. But even at that, yeah, I think you got to get to 100 sacks, man. So what about Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry, I don't know what the question is about Derrick Henry. Yeah, but his stats don't match TJ Watt's. You got to stop that. Yes, his stats don't match his. But that don't mean that Myles Garrett ain't great. Myles Garrett is great. Not good, he's great. So, rumors, they may hire John Gruden to work with Derek Carr in New Orleans. The Saints are so poorly run. Breeze and Peyton carried that ship, and it shows. Yeah, if they bring in John Gruden, why don't you just bring in a new coach? I mean, first of all, why can somebody answer me why Dennis Allen is still the coach of the Saints? I mean, seriously, can somebody answer me that question? I mean, this division should have been gift wrapped to them, and they blew it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I thought he should have been much better than that. Much better than that. But it is what it is at this point, I guess. It is what it is. What's your opinion on Micah Parsons? I think Micah Parsons is outstanding. There's some games where he disappeared, and he has to get better against the run. He has to get better against the run. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He has to. Because teams line up and they run right at him. But Micah Parsons, there's no denying how great Micah Parsons is. It's just not. But I made a post about it earlier this week. You put him up against TJ Watt, his stats aren't the same as TJ. I don't know why everybody just discredits TJ Watt. They act like 19 sacks is easy. They act like, oh, he got 19 sacks. I know only one other person in the history of the league got 19 sacks and got multiple seasons with 19 sacks. Only one other person. But not that good. Not that impressive. It's crazy. It's crazy talk. So, where do I think that Derrick Henry lands? I don't know. They keep talking about Dallas. That might be a good fit for him. But I'm not sure where Derrick Henry go. So, I'm not sure where he goes. Myles Garrett is on TJ Watt's level? Well, sure he is. Absolutely he's on his level. Doesn't mean he's better, but he's damn sure on the same level. On the same level as TJ Watt. I can admit that as a Steelers fan, and if you're not being honest. I can admit that. No problem. Henry to Dallas. I don't know. We'll see. We will definitely see if Derrick Henry goes there. I think he's going to be gone from Tennessee. Tennessee's turning that roster over. We'll see how that works. We'll see how that works. Falcons' new head coach hire. Don't know. Don't know. It's up in the air. I'd like to see Eric Bieniemy get a shot. I'd like to see, doesn't seem like his name was even brought up last year. I'd like to see Bieniemy get an opportunity. So that's what I would like. Eric Bieniemy, I think he fits in well in Atlanta. I think he would fit in well. They get him a quarterback, and look out. And look out. So, what else we got going on, people? Do you think that hold on. You think Mike McDonald, the best defensive candidate? Maybe. Maybe, yeah. Our team's hiring defensive head coaches these days. We've seen this big push and this trend to offensive coaches. So I don't know. Pete Carroll to Alabama, not going to happen. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why people are saying that. Pete Carroll to Alabama. That's never going to happen. Never, ever, ever. Never going to happen. Think we're going to shut this one down for today, people. I appreciate you guys being here, man. Again, Monday through Friday. Look for us to move the time to the morning, probably starting next week. We'll still be here tomorrow. We'll break down these NFL playoff games tomorrow, man. And also, we might stream the Steelers game on Sunday. We might do that, so be looking for it. Be looking for it. We just might stream the Steelers against the Bills. We'll have people over at the house, so I'll let you know. I will let you guys know. Either way, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. Good show today, man. I appreciate everybody. If you're on TikTok, give me a follow. We appreciate it. And then hit the link in my bio, the YouTube link. Come on over to YouTube, man, and subscribe over to YouTube. So I appreciate it. Other than that, thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow, man. Aloha.